Let me just get a little rap sheet here on Robert Bumps Black. Let me get my, okay, I got my stuff. Okay.
I even had Cato, Arthur Neville. I started all those guys.
You started me.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Here we go.
Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're going to open up with... all right, Doug? Okay, I'll lead you into it. Okay, send me some love. All right, here we go. AM 1110 with Jim Pewter. That was Little Richard. Send me some lovin'. Then we started off our set with Ready Teddy. And the man who wrote Ready Teddy is here, Robert Bumps Blackwell. And not only did he produce for Little Richard, but for Sam Cooke, Jesse Belvin, Lloyd Price, Guitar Slim, Marvin and Johnny. And we could go on and on. He's been a good friend down through the years. Welcome, Bumps.
Oh, well, welcome, Jim. It's a real pleasure to be back into the industry all the way again.
Yeah, we're going to reminisce about Richard. And also with us is Charles Connor, who was an original member of Richard's band, The Upsetters. And Charles started out with people like Smiley Lewis, Professor Longhair, Shirley and Lee. And I'm glad you stopped in too, Charles.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Because you're going to be hearing yourself on some of these records that we're going to be playing, all right? Bumps, let's talk about Richard. And so many people have asked me down through the years about him and how you found him. And you first recorded Tutti Frutti with him, right?
Right. That was the first recording.
Yeah, and that was where?
In New Orleans.
Uh-huh. And it took off immediately, and you had a string of hits with Richard. And something happened around 1956 with Rip It Up, where Richard was always on the piano on sessions, right?
Well, correct, yes. Well, that was yes and no.
Yeah.
But, Richard was always on the piano. We were always featuring the piano. But then when this Rip It Up hit me, it was sort of like a little dream between L.A. and El Paso. And because the way the song was written, it was just too tight. It didn't breathe. And so I went to sleep and dreamed that drum beat. And when I went down and did it, I took the piano off and used the same concept of the piano on the snare drum. Mm-hmm. And then I was nearly fired for doing that because it created quite a rift between me and the owner of Specialty Records, because he said I was changing the formula and it wouldn't make it. So he bet me a suit of clothes, and I ended up winning. It was a beautiful suit. Art Group had to buy that suit for me.
Right. You still have the suit?
No.
No, right. We're going to rip it up, right? Little Richard.
We ripped it up.
Bumps Blackwell produced it. It's a classic on KRLA.
That was the truth. That was really funny. Yeah, that was a beautiful black silk mohair. And Saudi Boy was in trouble because he couldn't turn Jerusha down when Jerusha says it. And then there she was. Mm-hmm. She was standing up there, boy. Her face was red and her eyes was blazing. Oh, man. And so I said, man, that's a beautiful suit. I'll take it. And that made everything peachy green. That suit cost Art $365. It was that silk mohair, black silk mohair.
That was an awful lot of money.
Yeah, that was the end. That was all the money in the world in the 50s.
Really?
Charles, were you on that record, Rip It Up?
No. I'm on
Keep a Knockin'?
Keep a Knockin'.
Okay, we'll get to that, yeah. Any comment, Doug?
No, I think that was good. That was about 2:29, a little long, but that's all right. That's good. You should have to have the intro in there.
Yeah. All right, we'll come out of this, and then we'll do a little talk about Tony Allen. And all right? Oh, yeah, okay, you did it on stage live. Rip It Up with Richard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they did all
Sure.
that stuff.
All right. Here we go. We'll come out of this. That's Little Richard with Jim Pewter. Robert Bumps Blackwell is here. Charles Connor, who was a member of the Upsetters, who toured with Little Richard, played drums, Rip It Up. I remember Bill Haley covered that record, Bumps.
Right.
Yeah, had a hit on it.
We had a lot of covers.
Oh, I know you did. With Pat Boone doing
Right.
Tutti Frutti.
Yeah.
Charles, what was it like working with Richard on the road in those days?
It was beautiful working with Little Richard. Richard had so much energy until you just look at Richard and you would collect some of that energy by just looking at Richard.
Uh-huh.
And he had a whole lot of showmanship and everything. It was a pleasure playing with Richard, you know, and it was a pleasure just being on the bandstand with Richard, you know, because he playing these live engagements like that, he would let me use my own ideas and everything. You know, I would put different some jazz licks in there and everything, like something like Max Roach licks or Blakey licks. It's really a pleasure, you know.
Yeah, well, good. Bumps, I wanted to talk to you about another artist that you found and produced, Night Owl, Tony Allen, which became such a big hit on the West Coast. And you did it around 1955.
I was with a group called the Chimes.
Mm-hmm.
It was Pookie, Charles, and well, the boys are still working, but they're working as the Coasters and a lot of other groups today. And that was a big hit. That was a big one.
Yeah, Robert Bumps Blackwell produced it. He's our guest, and Charles Connor is here of the Upsetters. Let's reflect with Tony Allen one more time on KRLA. Tony, stop. We did it on Tiny Nailers. How long was that rap about that we just did? Oh, okay, fine. Okay, I'll lead you into Sam Cooke and we'll talk. And then, Charles, you worked with Sam on the road. Yeah.
We played some days with Sam, the Upsetters band. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to Charles coming out of, I'll come running back to you, just a little highlight there. Okay, here we go. Night Owl with Jim Pewter. Robert Bumps Blackwell is my special guest. He produced that song. Charles Connor is here, the man that worked with Little Richard and Sam Cooke on the road. And speaking of Sam Cooke, I want everyone to know that it was Robert Bumps Blackwell who first started to record Sam and was with him during the gospel years, but also brought him over into the pop field, right, Bumps?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, Reba Harris was the original singer with the Soul Stirrers. Sam was with the Highway QCs.
Mm-hmm.
And when Reba got sick and he pulled out, when Sam took Reba's place, a lot of them thought that Sam wasn't going to make it. Reba was Sam's idol. But then Sam actually outsang Reba Harris. And when Sam did Jesus Met the Woman at the Well and all of those numbers, it was just too much nearer. And I could see there was Sam's reaction when we were doing those gospel concerts that he'd be a tremendous pop singer. But I couldn't talk. It took me, 3 years, to make a long story short. It took 3 years to get Sam from the religious field into the pop field.
Yeah. This was one of his first recordings that you did, Jesus Gave Me Water.
Right.
Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers on KRLA. I'll come out of this, and then we're going to we'll come out. I'll come running back to you. I'll back sell that, and then we'll talk about how you got married, and then how Charles started working with Sam on the road.
Yeah.
Then, okay?
Okay.
All right. And then we'll do a little break, and then we have You Send Me comes on.
Mm-hmm.
We'll tease the next big record went to #1 with Sam.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll come running back to you.
Well, you see, there was a reason for that, because we were trying to disguise Sam's name. I put Dale Cook on the record.
Oh, right.
But you couldn't disguise his voice. And all of the jocks knew that he was a religious singer, and that was quite a heavy thing. That's what held it back, because it sold 1 million after You Send Me.
Yeah.
It turned around and sold 1 million.
Okay, we're coming out of I'll come running back to you. Here we go. That was it said it was recorded around August of '56.
Which one was that?
I'll come running back
no,
to you.
It was recorded on Sunday, December 16, 1956, because that was the day
Oh,
I got married.
all
I
right.
went in
Okay.
and started the session, stopped it, went
All
and
right.
got married, and
All right.
came back and finished.
Let's talk about that.
Wow,
Okay.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
I'll never forget that day.
Really? That's the day you sign your life away.
All right. AM 1110 with Jim Pewter. It's my original rock and roll show, and what a great ballad that was. Came out in the late 50s. I'll come running back to you with Sam, and then some early gospel music with Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers. Jesus Gave Me Water. My special guests, Robert Bumps Blackwell, the man who produced those songs for Sam, and Charles Connor, drummer with Little Richard and Sam Cooke. Bumps, when you recorded I'll Come Running Back to You, something happened to you at that time,
Yeah,
right?
well, what happened to me, I met a little girl, Marlene Kaufman, in New Orleans. She was living next door to me, and she was a singer, and I heard her singing. I was in the bathtub in one house. She was in the bathtub next door, and she was singing, so I had my landlady introduce me. I found out she could take shorthand and type, so I took her to the studio, so she started working with me.
Uh-huh.
And so on December 16th, 1956, I went in on a Sunday morning and started recording Sam Cooke on this pop song. It was his first pop endeavor. And we stopped the session. I went off and got married, came back, finished the session. And the biggest mistake I made was we were trying to disguise Sam because he was a little dubious about leaving the religious field, going into the pop field. So the record went out as Dale Cook. But we disguised his name, but we couldn't his voice, and so this number didn't really make it as big as it should have at that time.
Yeah.
And then it was later, June the 11th, when I recorded You Send Me, and then in September 57 when we released it, and it went like a disease.
Yeah. All the way to number 1.
Yeah.
We'll hear it next. Robert Bumps Blackwell, Charles Connor. This is Jim Pewter. Number 1 with Sam Cooke. You Send Me on KRLA coming up. Is that okay, Doug? A little bit? Okay. We'll come out of You Send Me, and then we'll talk a little bit. About. I'll get an impression from you, Charles and Sam.
What you might keep in mind is that when Chuck was playing with them, they were billed as the Upsetters. It was actually the Upsetters backing up.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give it a frame.
Okay.
Richard was playing around.
Right. Okay, let me just go through. Okay. I'll just lead you into it, let you say it. Okay. Coming out of You Send Me. Keen Records. Okay. It was where were they located? Culver City at the time, Bumps?
Yeah, when we first started, we was in Culver City, but then we moved to 8515 3rd,
Oh, okay.
West 3rd, and that's, I built that studio there. It was really, Schwartz had it, and it was a place where they dubbed foreign films.
Oh, is that right?
And we took it over and made a recording studio out of it.
Okay. We'll come out of this.
And I think Pacific Jazz and a lot of other people have it. I think Liberty had it last.
Uh-huh. All right. Here we go. That was Sam Cooke's first number 1 record, You Send Me, produced by Robert Bumps Blackwell. He's my special guest. And Charles Connor is here, drummer with Sam and Little Richard. Charles, what was the first impression you had about Sam when you met him? And then of course later you had an opportunity to work with him. But what do you remember most about him?
Man, he was a cool dude, man. Really cool. Really dug Sam Cooke a lot. It was a different pace anyway. It was, Richard, Tutti Frutti and Long Tall Sally and all that kind of stuff, up-tempo stuff. And we had a chance to be cool, and kind of show off a little bit, with a different pace and everything. And the good thing about Sam playing behind Sam Cooke was Bumps was directing the band out there in front of the band, directing the Upsetters band.
Mm-hmm.
And we really enjoyed that and everything. And it was a different pace, and we playing, sort of with a spiritual feeling too, slow with a spiritual,
After You Send Me, Bumps was on Keen Records out in Culver City, small label. The record took off. All of a sudden, you become known worldwide as a famous record producer, arranger, what have you. And then you had a string of hits with Sam Cooke on Keen Records, didn't you?
Right, yeah.
And the one we're going to play next is Only 16.
Right.
And that must have been an exciting time for you because, we're looking back in the late 50s when all this was starting to happen. And how did Sam accept the new success? He was known in gospel, but all of a sudden he's a pop star now. How did that affect him?
What happened, we went in to see the big, what they call the gospel train. And when we got in there, Sam was sort of slunking out of his chair, but the Soul Stirrers saw him there, and I think it was the Gospel Harmonettes and the Caravans, and they came up there and grabbed Sam, and when the audience found out that Sam was there, they just started screaming, and Sam broke up the gospel show. And that was a thing that actually helped Sam, because Sam thought that, there was a sort of a superstition about playing pop music and gospel music, and I had tried to tell him, look at plumber, candlestick maker goes to church. Why can't a singer go to church? You're endowed and was born to be a singer. So what really happened when that big gospel show in Philadelphia happened, and we went to it, and they called Sam up on the stage, and he sang the gospel song and broke the house up. Then Sam really settled down and got into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he got into a lot more hits too that you
he
produced.
got into a lot more hits. That's right.
Only 16 next, and then we'll have Wonderful World and Great Memories on KRLA. Let's continue with Sam. Wonderful World. I noticed that. Is that okay, Doug? Did you ever work with Larry?
Oh, yeah, I
Charles?
worked with Larry around Louisiana,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved his tunes.
Larry Williams.
Short Fat Fanny, Boney Maroney.
Joe John on
Yeah,
piano.
but Just Because.
Well,
that was the first one.
Yeah, right.
That was the one that did it.
Yeah. And then did you do Slow Down and Dizzy Miss Lizzy with him?
Yeah,
too?
Dizzy Miss
I
Lizzy,
love
yeah.
that. I love those songs. Okay. We'll we'll do a tease, then we'll mention Just Because, and then we'll play Short Fat Fanny.
You see, there's a story on Just Because.
Is it? Yeah.
There's a good story on that.
Okay.
Same story that started Fast Domino.
All right. You know what we could do? Okay. Let's mention a couple. I'll just mention a couple other people that were working with you then. Lou Adler and Herb Alpert, right?
Yeah. I started him. In fact, I put together Tijuana Brass.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Coming out of this, we'll do a little thing next. Here we go.
You see, I got fired for making You Send Me, and that's how Sonny Bono got his job and got his break.
Hmm.
Can you imagine man firing me for making a
I mean, nowadays.
and being replaced by Sonny Bono? Yeah, that's really a classic.
Should we get into that? Whatever you feel. Okay. All right, here we go. Coming out of all right, Wonderful World. It's one of my all-time favorites, Sam Cooke, Wonderful World, and then it was Only 16. This is Jim Pewter on KRLA, special guests. Robert Bumps Blackwell, the man that produced for Sam. Let me do that again, Doug. Let me take it from the top. Let's do the whole thing over. Okay. AM 1110 with Jim Pewter, Wonderful World, Sam Cooke, then it was Only 16. And we're having such great memories. This is Jim Pewter with Robert Bumps Blackwell and Charles Connor. Bumps produced all the hits for Sam, and Charles toured with Little Richard, and Sam Cooke played drums on the road with him. And a lot of great memories coming back to both of you, I imagine, hearing this again.
Really.
Great memory.
I tell you, especially when I got fired for making You Send Me.
Yeah. You, not only did you get fired, but there was a couple of other guys that got involved with you that you helped
Well,
out.
I was teaching Sonny Bono at the time. He was a writer, and he was working at a pizza shop up in Inglewood. And at first he was mad at me because I had the white boy down there in my little cubicle. But then when that Saturday at Radio Recorders, when he walked in and saw those white singers singing behind Sam, and the white singers were the Pied Pipers, Tommy Dorsey's Pied Pipers. And he fired them, paid them off, fired me, hired Sonny Bono.
Yeah, you're talking about Art Roop now,
Art
right?
Roop,
Art Roop
yeah.
especially, yeah.
See, this happened in June 3rd. And on June 11th, that's when I made my final separation. I had to forfeit my royalties on Little Richard for Sam's masters.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I didn't know how much it was, so I didn't even really know what I was paying. But the thing was, we released You Send Me in September 1957, and by December 57, it sold over 1 million. It was one of the fastest moving records of its time.
Okay, let's talk about another artist that you were instrumental in producing, not only producing, but making a name around the world. Larry Williams, always one of my favorites. He did Short Fat Fanny and Boney Maroney, but you did, the first record with him.
Well, the first record came as a result of Lloyd Price. You see, Lloyd Price, when he left and went to the Army, when Lloyd came back, Lloyd had this song that he wanted to do. Lloyd went over to Korea and came back and had graduated from the blues and was trying to sing. He was trying to be a black Sinatra. And I was screaming at him, telling him nobody wanted a black Sinatra, and that the song wouldn't make it. And the song only had a 3-measure bridge to it. And it was taken also from the classics. And I had, my background was classics, and I recognized it. So I wouldn't record the songs. Lloyd quit the label, ran off into Washington, D.C., started a KRC label, and recorded it. ABC was about to pick it up, and we got a call from our distributor. So they asked, could I cover it? I said, yeah. They said, who with? I said, with Lloyd's piano player, which was Larry Williams. So I sent to Oakland, flew Larry in on a Sunday, rehearsed the number, cut it Monday morning, made it a converted master Monday afternoon, and was shipping records on Tuesday. And that's how we beat ABC and everybody on Just Because.
Yeah, that's Bumps Blackwell, and this is Jim Pewter. You'll hear it next on KRLA.
I love it. That's a great story.
What do you want some?
That's the record biz.
The first time I played with Larry.
Good golly, Miss Molly. Yeah, okay, 58. Oh, we're rocking with Little Richard, Good Golly, Miss Molly. Then it was Larry Williams, Just Because. And Robert Bumps Blackwell is here, the man that produced all those great songs. And Charles Connor, who was a member of the Upsetters, who toured with Little Richard as his drummer and also worked with Sam Cooke. And you wrote that song, Little Richard's Good Golly, Miss Molly.
Right,
Bumps.
yeah, that was written at my daughter's mother's house there in New Orleans on North Johnson and St. Bernard. Right at the table, a boy named John Mariscalco and I sat down there and put it together.
Yeah. Keep a Knockin' is next, and it was one of the biggest hits for Little Richard. And Charles Connor is featured on the record with the drums.
Right.
Before we get to that, I wanted to ask you, Bumps, about Richard. Is there any chance that he might come back and do rock and roll again?
Well, you see, I don't call it doing rock and roll. I mean, it just depends on the definitions. As far as Richard's coming back, yes, Richard's going to start recording again. The only difference is content and dialogue, poetry. As far as doing the worldly songs or songs that would have any decadent incest and all of the programming that's going on today, no, he won't do that. But as far as the tempos and the beat, yes. As far as the dialogue and the poetry, he's going to be singing songs with more morality, more patriotism, and more spirituality. As far as singing traditional religious songs, no, we're not going to be doing traditional religious songs, but we're going to be doing songs that are going to be uplifting and with faith and things for the younger people. Richard is really interested in the young people, and he's interested in what they hear and what they say, and if he's going to be any kind of an image, well, then he'd like to be a good, clean image and one with, like I say, with a good moral, spiritual attitude rather than having to come through because it's bizarre and more bizarre and more bizarre.
Yeah, okay. For right now, I'm going to take both of you back to the late 50s. One of the biggest hits of Little Richard, Charles Connor's on drums, and Bumps Blackwell produced it. It's Keep a Knockin' on KRLA. That was good, Bumps.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
But you see, I just don't believe,
Okay. What should we include? This is the night, Valiance, you think?
I think we're running a little long.
All right, let's take it. All right, we'll do an outro then. Outro teaser to Keep a Knockin'. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay. Little Richard Pennyman on AM 1110 with Jim Pewter. Keep a Knockin'. Robert Bumps Blackwell is here. And Charles Connor. Bumps produced that song and all the Little Richard and Sam Cooke hits. And Charles Connor was a member of the Upsetters, played drums with Little Richard. And tell me the story about being in the studio with him at the time you did this.
Well, when we did Keep a Knockin' at a radio station in Washington, D.C., Richard wanted something different. He wanted, at first the guy was thinking about a full-bar guitar intro, and then the other guy was thinking about maybe a full-bar piano intro. So Richard said, no, let's let Charles do an full-bar intro, and that's how we came with Keep a Knockin'. It was, something different, and it was something different that you have never heard on records before, especially rock and roll records, And then Richard gave me a $500 bonus for that idea, the full-bar intro.
Is that right?
Right.
That's Richard.
We're going to reminisce now about another artist that Bumps and I both knew in the late 50s. Of course, I knew him by the name of Jet Powers, and he became P.J. Proby. And Bumps, you were the one who discovered him.
I
out
discovered
here.
him, started him, and then they stole him.
They did? Yeah.
Yeah, after I made the hit record, they stole him and changed his name. Yeah. This kid was great. In fact, I ran into him here just 2 years ago. We set a thing up for the Palomino, but he has gone off into heavy drinking. He's very hard to handle, but he was, beyond a shadow of a doubt, one of the greatest singers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
P.J. Proby, and we'll hear his greatest hit coming up next on KRLA. I was at that Palomino show, and he the voice was there, but he didn't have it really. He forgot the words, and that's unfortunate. He lives in Malibu now with some lady. I'm trying to think of her name.
Yeah. I think he's back in England.
Oh, is he back in England?
Yeah, he's not doing anything. He's just went to become a decadent.
Yeah. What we'll do here, Doug, I'm trying to. I'm gonna. When we, okay.
Yeah, Nicky Hokey.
All right, here we go. Okay. All right. That's P.J. Proby with Jim Pewter. Robert Bumps Blackwell is here. Charles Connor of the Upsetters, and I remember PJ Proby when he was known as Jet Powers. In fact, he was on a label called Beta Records.
Beta Records.
And
Gene Bass, that was my partner.
Gene Bass, yeah. And I was in Minnesota at the time, and I sent you a demo record when I was
Right.
about 16.
Yes.
You flew me out to L.A.
Right.
And I got to meet not only Bumps Blackwell, but Bessie Griffin and the Gospel Pearls and
That's
Little
right.
Richard. And I think the second night I arrived, you had a tune for me called Blue Blue Denims,
Right.
right? And
There's two sisters and
Yeah.
Thora Johnson.
Thora Johnson wrote it, yeah.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning about Thora?
Yeah, well, Thora married a kid who I also had a hit with, Sunny Night. And the song was
Confidential.
Confidential.
Right, okay.
And they're both living over in Hawaii.
Well, I never knew that. And then,
Yeah.
of course...
Well, he wrote the book, the
Yeah.
night the music died, or day the
Right,
music
that's
died.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna play this now, and I was out from St. Paul. I remember I walked into the session, 16-year-old kid. You were looking for like a Jimmy Clanton kind of
Jimmy
look,
Clanton,
right?
that's right.
And I remember you had a lot of Richard's musicians there, and I think we did this in one take. And I'll tell you, this is a lot of fun to listen to this again. Blue Blue Denims, and by the way, I went by the name of Devaney James because that was my
Yeah.
middle name, Devaney.
Yeah,
And
Devaney
you
James.
said that would be a good name. This is 1959 now, right?
Right.
Okay, Bumps Blackwell and Devaney James on KRLA. Married to
But that was really something, though. I'd love to have a copy of that record.
What? I'll get you. I can get you one. I'll have to.
I bet you got a garage full.
No, I don't. I only got about 2 or 3 of those left.
Yeah, because that's priceless. I like
Uh.
to frame that record. No, but I'm serious.
I got a chart on that you never. It got up to 14 in KDWB in Minneapolis, St. Paul, in the Midwest.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Amos Heiliger distributed it.
Uh-huh. Fantastic.
Okay, we're gonna come out of this, and then we're gonna do 2 more bottles of wine. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll talk about what's happening today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Doug. Okay. All right. All right.
That's 2 more bottle of wine. It fits right in there.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Blue
lays
Blue
right
Denims.
in there.
Okay. Okay. Let me just do a quick bit. Let's see. I'm just trying to think of a line to come out of this. 2 car shirt. Then.
Well, that's,
All right.
That was Jim Pewter on KRLA. This is Jim Pewter.
Oh my, that's the way it was. That's yours truly. A long time ago. Bumps Blackwell produced that, 1959. That's when I was wearing the red sweater, right, and
Yeah.
the white shoes and
And the
bopping
buck
around.
shoes,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Did some tours with Fabian and Bobby Comstock off that record. That was a lot of fun. And this is the man that got me into the music business, Bumps Blackwell. And Charles Connor's here of the Upsetters. We've been having a lot of great times just sharing all this music that all of you were involved in. Next, we have something recent called 2 More Bottles of Wine. And this song was written by Delbert McClinton, and it's a song you produced. And tell me about the artist.
well, the
Bumps.
artist is a sensational Irish harpist who, she can go from Bach to rock, which proves on this record. We've got an album of 9 tunes where she's singing Cajun, country, and all sorts of things, rockabilly, move over. We got You Look Good in Blue, which is a rock move over tune. And I did this sort of a potpourri album on Mary because just to show her versatility and show how she approaches each song with a different attitude, with a clear, different attitude.
Right. And the artist's name?
The artist's name is Mary Murphy Dimmers, and she's from Ireland. She's married to a French-Canadian, Remy Dimmers, and this album was made between the United States and Canada.
And it was produced by our special guest.
Yep, yours truly.
Yeah, Bumps Blackwell. Let's listen now. 2 More Bottles of Wine on KRLA. That's brand new. Mary Murphy Demers, produced by Robert Bumps Blackwell. That was 2 More Bottles of Wine. And thanks to Bumps and also Charles Connor for stopping by, member of the Upsetters. And Charles, you're working with the group again, huh?
Yes, I have my band now called Charles Connor's Upsetters, and a beautiful bunch of guys, and I have one of the original saxophone players, Larry Lanier. He lives in Oakland right now. And I'm also writing a book. My personal manager and I are writing a book together. Robert Leslie, he's doing all my typing, my research. He's my driver. He's just everything, my hairdresser too, and all that jazz, you know. But he's doing everything for the help and everything, and I really appreciate that. And so we should be playing around town about a month and a half or so from here, you know.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Maybe we can get involved in a big show. And Bumps, thanks for coming by. We'll have to do another session with you because there's so many other artists that we haven't covered that you were involved with. And it's always great fun having you here and just sharing the memories.
Good.
Yeah, all right. Bumps Blackwell, Charles Connor. This is Jim Pewter. Until next week, you keep it straight ahead. Bye-bye.